Positively Petland Show, AM 800 KXIC. I'm Jay Capron. We're getting you going.
You do that so well.
Thank you. I always put a little extra something into it.
Yeah.
The Positively Petland Show. We're talking pets. We're having fun. That's what I love about this show is we're talking about the furry friends that help us get through life in a happy way with a nice smile and a wag of the tail at the door, right? And you know what? With our cats, there's nothing more comfortable to me than at the end of the evening when I'm just sitting there either watching TV or reading a book or doing whatever, and they're just hanging on my lap, and I'm just petting them, and they could be, couldn't be happier, right?
Yeah.
It's just good stuff. And the family interactions between the animals is always fun, too. You have a cat and 2 dogs, and we have the 2 cats and the rabbit, and it's fun to see that too. And of course, to get the kids involved too. And what we talk about is how to keep your pets healthy, how to solve problems, because unfortunately they don't come out of the box trained, so you got to find ways to help make them adapt to our environment in a way that keeps you happy, so you're not stressed out and dealing with all kinds of issues around your house or yard. And so that's what we talk about here today. We're going to talk specifically about barking a little bit, and we'll let you know about that. Why do dogs bark? What can you do to help solve that problem if it is a problem in your house? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a brand of dog food called Blue Buffalo. The Poodle is the breed of the week, and we have an amazing pet story of the week. So all of that to get to here on the Positively Petland Show. If you're just tuning in here, it is the 9 o'clock hour on a Sunday leading into the we have a day full of, let's see, if it's this upcoming Sunday, it's Cubs baseball coming up this afternoon against the San Diego Padres at Wrigley Field. That's a 12:55 pregame. And Ron's store opens up at noon today, and that is on Sundays. If you're tuning in on the podcast page, you just go to KXIT.com, click podcast, and you can listen to this show and a lot of our other shows at your own convenience. Ron, how are things going at the store?
Continuing to be stellar.
Good.
Life is fun. It's fun when you own a pet store. You go in and talk about having fun at night and just relaxing. I got a store full of that. So
people having fun too. I see lots of smiles when I'm there.
It's fun to walk out onto the store and just listen, and you hear all the conversation and a little barking in the background and the tweeting in the background and all sorts of. It's just a fun place to be.
Well, and you can go there. It's right off Lower Muscatine, across from the Sycamore Mall, a.k.a. now the Iowa City Marketplace is what they call it. And you can go check it out yourself if you'd like to. And you are welcome to stop by for all of your needs there. And you can even maybe have a new member of your family when you walk out those doors. You've got all different types of puppies. And the Poodle is going to be our breed of the week today.
Right. And I'm going to pose the question, where do you think, we'll answer it later in the show here. Where do you think the haircut of a poodle, how they've got that special little cut that a poodle gets done, really tight around the face and then poofy around certain sections of the body and all that. I'm going to ask you, where did that style come from?
Okay. Well, don't forget to tell our listeners, though.
We will. We'll have it. We'll
one of the things I work hard at too is because I do my morning show is I tease something, and then if I get onto other things, sometimes it's like then you have the listeners say, "Well, what the heck was that?" You not finished it, so make a note of that and make sure we don't forget.
Oh, it'll come out.
We're keeping our listeners on the edge of their seats.
It's so out in left field why they are cut that way. You'll have no idea.
All right, so we'll revisit that when we get to the Poodle, but we have a few other things we want to talk about here today too. And so we'll start with the amazing pet story of the week. We'll get to that. We're going to go to Siberia. And Siberia, what do you think about first when you think about Siberia?
Well, first is cold and camps. That's not fun camps.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But I just heard somebody came back from Siberia and they said it was actually gorgeous. They were like, oh, okay.
Maybe if you go a certain time of year or something like that. But that's the first thing I think of too. So big voice guy, we need. Look at this. He must have heard me talking about. He's wearing a parka. He looks like an Eskimo.
You're sweating, man.
Come on, man. It's nice. It's April and in Iowa.
Time for the amazing.
He's trying to lose weight there or something.
He's shivering. Get out of here. Come on. Go put on a spring jacket already. All right. Anyway, we are going to talk about Siberia today. Raul Kuliaktomov
There's a good Siberian.
7-year-old survives 3 nights of freezing temperatures thanks to his favorite dog. As you hear the story coming from the Siberian Times, 7-year-old Raul.
Siberian Times.
Yeah, they got newspapers.
No way. They call it the Siberian Times.
Why not? Right?
That's so American.
It's the Siberian Post. No, it's the Siberian Times. It really is. Raul was on his way home from school and he heard the sound of a trapped stray. It was coming from inside an uncovered hole on the side of the road. He looked in and he saw his dog. He saw his favorite stray dog down there. So apparently he had seen this dog in the past. Raul recognized the dog as one that he often played with in his home village, Bashkira, near the Ural Mountains. He said he wanted to save the dog, and when he went to reach down to try and help the dog, you can imagine what happened.
Mm-hmm.
He fell in. So he fell in. And he said he was calling, and nobody heard his calls. A worried mother contacted authorities. The Russian Interior Ministry began broadcasting an ad about her missing son, and you can see the photo there, Ron, and that of the message that went out, much like our Amber Alerts that we have here in the States. 200 volunteers joined the hunt, and they searched and searched and could not find this boy. Which, if he was on his way home from school, you'd think they'd be some area. But
I kind of envisioned a street with a
hole, right?
On the side of the road. Yeah,
but it probably was more complicated than that. But 72 hours later, they did find him. They heard a dog wailing inside. They found the dog was there with the boy, and the doctor said, "We are in awe of how he managed to survive." They sat in their clutch together. The night temperature sank as low as 10 degrees Celsius, below zero, and the dog's body heat kept hypothermia at bay. And they warmed them both up, and they fed them, and they were healthy. So what a story there from the Siberian Times.
That's a good one. I like it.
Story of the week. And fitting that big voice guy wore a parka today.
He must have been shivering from the story.
Yes.
Just thinking of it.
We've heard
stories. No, he would say, just thinking of
it. We've heard stories similar to this about how dogs have kept people alive in different situations, and their body temperature is warmer than humans, right?
Right around 101.
And they have, of course, the fur too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've heard stories of people in what's it called when the snow falls down the mountain?
Avalanche.
An avalanche, or other situations where they're in mountains or other places where they've kept them warm with their body heat. So cool. I'm glad to hear that story. A little 7-year-old, thankful that he had that dog there with him in that hole. All right, so there's your amazing pet story. What we'll do is take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the poodle. It's the breed of the week, and we're also going to talk about barking and how you can maybe stop your dog from barking, what causes barking, and we're going to have blue buffalo in focus for our food here, our brand of food for the week. And of course, when Ron talks about the poodle, he's going to unveil why they're cut that way, right?
Why is there a poodle cut? Because that's a different cut.
It is
than any other dog
looking cut. So we'll find that out coming up here in a little bit. This is the PAWSitively Petland Show. As we go to break, tell us about your store, Ron.
We're Petland of Iowa City. Located across from the Marketplace Mall, now known as now I'm going to switch it around. Previously known as Sycamore Mall.
That's right.
And we're hours of operation, like we said. During the week, it is from 10 a.m. till 9 p.m., but today, Sunday, we're open from noon until 6. It is a fun store. Our theme is come in and play with the pets and find out what's the right pet for your family. If you need more reason than just that, all of our dog food, we've got a lot. We've got somewhere over 30 different brands of dog foods and premium, really good brands. They're all buy 10, get one free. Over time, we track it for you, so you don't have to cut anything or anything like that. You can't beat a $5 nail trim. You just can't beat that.
That's right.
And there's no appointments necessary. So come in and take advantage of that. And then we're also about education. It is amazing on how little we know about our dogs and how to help our dogs do certain things to adapt to our lifestyles. When we bring them into our homes, we're asking them to adapt to our lifestyle. Obviously we flex and all that kind of stuff to theirs as well. But potty training, I hear so many times people say, "Oh, I only poos or pees in my house once a week." And I'm like, whoa, That's way too much. And there are some very simple ways to work with your dog to just slowly eke them so that they don't do that in the house and that they do hold it until they go outside or on that pee pad or anything like that. So we're all about education and, hamsters, fish, reptiles, all sorts of different ways that we educate the community on.
Absolutely. Check them out. Petland of Iowa City, Lower Muscatine. Ron Salzard's here. I'm Jay Capron, and we are rolling along with the Positively Petland show. Do you know what Catherine Champion has to say about your Sycamore Mall, a.k.a. Iowa City Marketplace bungle there?
No, I'm in the dark.
Here she goes.
Get it together.
You got me off guard on that one. That was good. I love
stuff. It. We love you, Catherine.
Yes.
And of course,
I think she was late for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, here's the familiar Catherine saying,
I'm sorry I'm late.
I'm sorry I'm late. All right. Hopefully you're not running late here on a Sunday, right? Get to church. Better yet, stay tuned here to the Positive Petland show.
Better yet.
Well, get to church on time.
We're getting crazy.
Listen in on the podcast when you got time. I got to go. We got to get back after this. AM 800 KXIC.
I'm sorry I'm late. Jay!
Is that how she greets you when she shows up late?
Why'd you say that? Come on. Oh, Catherine.
Wow, you have Catherine bits.
I do. They just happen to be pulled up on this page, so I was like, let's have fun with that. All right, it is the Positive Petland Show. I'm Jay Capron. That's Ron Salzard. Catherine Champion here in spirit. And Big Voice Guy is now taking his parka off, and I wish he would have put it back on, actually. And now that I see what he looks like under there.
That's kind of scary.
With all that hair, you don't need a parka there, buddy. Come on. Back to the show. As we were talking today about, in the first segment, you heard a story out of Siberia. A dog kept a boy alive for 72 hours in the freezing cold. Great story there that he was able to survive that. And we have a few more topics to hit on. We're going to talk about the poodle. We're going to tell you why it's cut the way it is, why it's trimmed and groomed the way it is. And then we'll also tell you about barking. If your dog barks, if barking is an issue in your family, you're going to want to stay tuned because Ron has some information that might help you out, why they bark and things you can do to help solve that problem. And then also at the end, we'll talk about Blue Buffalo, which is the brand that we'll focus on today. So let's get right into it. Tell us about the poodle, the breed of the week.
The breed of the week. So let's just start off with that. Why do you think, Jay, they're cut the way they are?
I would guess for show. I don't know. They thought it looked good. So I've got a buzzer here too. So I'm really going.
So that would be the first one. And then you would go, well, gosh, isn't that a French? I don't know. For some reason, I think that cut is French looking. I don't even know where I come up with that idea because they're not originating from French.
So is it French?
French. They're not from French.
French
from France.
So that's not the case either, huh?
No. Okay. The stylish poodle clip was designed by hunters.
Really?
Because most dogs are used for hunting and other purposes. They used the poodle for a hunting dog, specifically in the water. That cut was designed so that they can cut through the water better. So that's why the face is cut really low. And then the reason why the rest of the areas where it gets a little beefier and stuff, that's to protect from a temperature reason, those areas or organs.
Okay.
So it's puffier in some areas to protect organs. So
seems to make sense.
An insulated layer. Yeah. I found that fascinating.
I do find that fascinating.
In fact, I have a new respect for the poodle clip now because I always thought it was just kind of a fancy curly cut or whatever.
Well,
and then me says,
why
are you cutting your dog like that?
That's one of those. I don't know if it's the breed or the cut itself, but there's certain dogs that don't look like they're ever male. Mm-hmm. And the poodle, when you see it, it's like it looks like a girl. Like it always looks like a girly dog, but obviously there's male poodle
here in the cut. Right? It's a manly thing. Some guy was trimmers out and said, "I think it'll go faster if I cut this a little tighter.
He will hunt better. He'll get more meat, and it's a manly thing It's not a girly cut. So
that was fascinating. So that the Poodle originates from Germany. There is
a French Poodle though, right? I've heard that before. A French Poodle.
Yeah,
maybe. I think so.
I don't know where you're coming up with that, man. Maybe you want to research that.
I will. You're the pet guy. I don't know.
You come up with these crazy ideas and thoughts. Am I supposed to come up with a reason why you do that? I don't know. All right. So the Poodle is. I've not seen anything that actually says this, but it's pretty close to it. One of the smartest or the smartest breeds out there, and we all know that the Poodle is a very smart breed. Talk with any owner of a Poodle, specifically those that are not really training the Poodle, and they will say it can be one of the most irritating dogs out there. And if you understood why they say that, you could actually turn that whole situation around and make them one of the best dogs ever. If you are not training the Poodle is training you. And so when you say, would you just stop jumping up on me? Would you stop doing this? Would you stop doing that? Well, they're trying to get something, whether it's attention, food, outside, whatever it is that they're, a toy, get me my toy, because you've put it in the closet and I can't get it. They're training you, and they're trying all different ways to train you to get you to do what they want to do. Well, we can turn that situation around. And Poodles, I always talk with Poodle owners and say, look, really concentrate on the training and you'll have an unbelievably wonderful dog, because they will learn very quickly. But they'll also turn it around. And so if you're saying, don't bark, now, a little while later, they're going to go, well, how about now? And if, you mean like in the room, I'm not supposed to bark? How about in this room? Can I bark in this room? And then, they'll keep on translating. And they're like that child that's testing its boundaries all the time.
I know a little something about that.
Yeah. So it's always neat when you can equate it to something that you're familiar with. And we like to talk in that way, because kids are training kids and working with kids and parenting kids. There's a lot of similarities that you can draw from both and help out and do better.
They're always seeing what they could get away with here. You know what? Going back to the French Poodle here for a second. So I'm not a complete dope, although. Oh,
I know. I've heard of the whole.
But here's the deal, though. It's a French Poodle, but it's another name for the standard Poodle. So they actually say French Poodles are not French, so I don't even know why they got the name of that, but it says they actually originated in Germany, which you said, and it says that they were used as a hunting dog. And so I think they were the preferred pet of French royalty at one point. So at that point, they called them French Poodles, but it's essentially another name for standard.
We're victims of our own conversation. At the beginning of this conversation, I said I always thought it was France.
Yeah, you did actually.
And then I planted that seed in your brain, and then I forgot about it.
And then I said, "Is there a French?"
And then I tossed off about it.
There you go. So a little bit of a background, but they are smart dogs. It sounds like
smart dogs. So they can. If you don't train them, they can be a little pain, right? But turn it around. All you got to do is train them, and I'm not talking a lot of training. It's just 5 minutes a day kind of training, and you'll have a wonderful dog that will learn quickly. We'll test the boundaries, but we'll learn quickly. Then another aspect about the Poodle that is wonderful is it's non-shedding, and it's one of the least shedding of all dogs. The Bichon Frise is the only one that surpasses it, not by much. And so the Poodle is great for those that have allergies. Now, don't just jump in and go, oh, well, I got allergies. The Poodle's the dog for me. You do have to still try that out. And so we have customers that come into our store over time and try the Poodle if there's allergies, and I always say get it up by your face, let their nails kind of not scrape you, but just graze your skin, see what happens. Are there any allergic reactions?
Will it show up as a pup compared to a grown dog? Like puppies will trigger allergies too, because the dander and
it's just, I guess I don't have like the conclusive guide on that one, but I've seen if you're allergic to the dog, it's usually all the way through its life.
I mean, it seems to make sense. I mean, it's the same things you're allergic to: the hair, the saliva,
right. Right. And we all, we think that there's only one allergen on the dog. No, there's multiple allergens, and are you allergic to one of those multiples? So saliva, dander, oils, all these different things that the dog gives off. We don't know, what you're allergic to, and so you got to figure that out for yourself. And the easiest way is to get in contact with that dog. We'll even in our store, if we see an allergy and you're still passionate about that dog specifically, we'll say, okay, leave the store maybe for a day, so let your allergies calm back down again. We'll actually wash that puppy because it was in contact with shedding breeds while it was in our store and everything. So we'll wash them up so that it's just that puppy, and then get them back with you and see, is there any reaction at this point? And we actually see a lot of positive, hey, I'm not getting the reaction anymore. Okay, it was just because it was in with other shedding dogs that you had a reaction there. So we work in some detail with you on that aspect. So that's one of the qualities of the Poodle as well. We primarily, and I've only brought in standard Poodles into the store a couple of times over the years, and I haven't for a while. Ours are miniature Poodles that we bring in. I tend to not. Every once in a while I'll bring in a toy, but in general, toy breeds tend to be a little less healthy. They tend to not live as long, and so I kind of shy away from the toy breeds. And so when I say toy, I'm saying less than 3 pounds. Okay. So I know that we throw some words around there, but toy is less than 3 pounds, the way I've read it and defined it. So our miniatures will pretty much hug that 10 to 13 pounds, but sometimes they'll get sub 10 into the 5 to 10 pound range. But you never know that. Even if somebody says, this is a toy, from a toy breed, and the parents and all that, realize the genes from the past can always kick in and make that breed a little bigger or a little smaller for that matter. And I always use myself as the example when you're trying to work with, how big is this dog going to get? I am bigger than all my parents and all my grandparents. Where did that gene come from? Well, it was a recessive gene a little further back that we weren't aware of or whatever, and I'm now taller than everybody. So it was both my brothers. It came out over and over again. So that's a little bit about the Poodle. Realize that grooming is a must. You're going to be going to the groomer or buying the clippers and doing it yourself, which is always fun. But we have at our house a Maltese Poodle, and we have to go to the groomer about every month and a half, 2 months, to get little Susie trimmed up and nice and neat, especially in the summer months, because they'll get into the grass and dig around and all that kind of stuff. And we find the shorter that fur is, the easier it is on maintenance and stuff like that. And I personally like a tight Poodle cut. The rest of my family likes it when it's nice and long, but it's all preference at that point. So that's a Poodle in a nutshell.
All right. And you told us why it's cut that way, which is something
I love that.
Waiting to hear about. So you've learned all about the Poodle now. Now, what if that Poodle or another dog of a different breed is barking all the time? First of all, why are they doing that, Ron? And how do you stop dogs from barking incessantly? Dogs bark. That's part of what they do. That's part of the way they communicate. But it can become a problem.
And that's exactly the way we start the conversation. If you came into our store and you're looking for some help on barking, my first question to you is when does it bark? So that I can understand a little bit of how to help you with the situation, because it can simply be remove that situation from the dog and you won't have the barking anymore. And we don't have to go any further. And I know that sounds really obvious, but it's when you're in the heat of the battle and you're kind of frustrated with things, it doesn't always quite make sense that way to you. And so we will then work with you on how to remove that, or how to get your dog used to that situation. So territorial barking is one thing. So that's that dog barking in the yard, and as things come up to the fence or that area, bark, bark. Or when your dog is in the house and sees another dog walking on the sidewalk and goes to that front room window, bark, 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 bark. It's more of a territorial barking. Mm-hmm. And so there's ways to handle that situation, and that get them used to that situation. So you might instigate that from that situation where you have your neighbor bring their dog and, hey, instead of walking around the block, can you just keep walking in front of my house? Mm-hmm. And while you're doing that, I'm going to be working with my dog in the house and trying to promote non-barking. So you'll find that dogs don't bark when they're certain distances away from that territorial, violator. So get them out that far so your dog is not barking. So now give them praise. A lot of touch around the head, feel good dog, good dog. You might even throw a snack in there. And then when the dog gets close enough and your dog is just, starting to get riled up, intensify it, make things really good at this point. You might even say, hey, stop where you're at right now. I want to, this is where I need to work with them. If you go a little further and your dog starts barking, now you got to back everything up a little bit and give no attention at that point. We have talked about the rollover where you give them a no to the chest. It's not a hurting thing. It's more of what mom does to them in the litter. It's a dominancy thing. A lot of people will describe it as. But you give them a no to the chest when that happens, and then back that process up. So now you're desensitizing your dog to this situation. So that would be a territorial. Same thing would be you would do if you're walking outside, and as you're approaching a dog or a certain situation, you want to, and your dog starts barking. If you want to train them, back that situation up so that your dog is not barking. Good dog, good dog. Here's a treat. And then slowly get them used to getting closer and closer to whatever is happening, whether it's a dog in a yard or another walking dog or whatever the barking situation is. We keep on bringing dogs into it. It could be a car. And so whatever that situation is, just bring them closer and closer to it. Another reason for dogs to bark is an alarm or a fear. Something's wrong. I gotta bark. I gotta let it out. Kind of a